another month, another wrap up. It's gonna start a little bit different than normal because at the beginning of this month I participated in the 1,000 Doors readathon hosted by Emma at Drinking by My Shelf, Megan over at Meg with Books, and Tasman at Tea Books in Tasman. And so the basis of this readathon was that the hosts posted prompts, and they were the first doors, and you picked through one of them, and then you came back to that video, and whatever you thought about the book that you read, you clicked on another prompt, and so everybody had a little bit of a different experience, and you could read 4 or 5 books. And this took place over the entire month of November, but they were heavily hosting it in the first week, and I actually finished it within the first week. So the first 5 books that I read for that. And so I'm gonna let y'all know what prompts that I followed and how I got where I got. So the first book that I read this month, I picked Emma's first prompt. And hers was the prompt was just 5. And so I picked a book that she has rated 5 stars, and that is Such a Fun Age. This book was so good. It's been a long time since I've read it, since the beginning of the month, and so I remember just really loving this book and really relating to the main character, where she is in her life and not really knowing what she wants to do and stuff. I also just felt the dynamics between the characters and were so good, and you really grow to care about the main character. So I don't know, to me there were 3 components. If you don't know what this book is about, which I forgot to tell you just now, it's basically a black girl babysits / nannies for this wealthy white family, and she gets a call one night from her employer, who is hey, we've had an emergency, can you come pick up our kid and just take her to the grocery store while we go while we deal with it, we don't want her to see the cops. And so she does that, and then while she's there, she gets at the fancy grocery store, she gets accused of kidnapping. And so that's the first scene, and it follows her life and then the mom's life over the next few months, and the progression of their relationship, and it explores performative allyship, and all that really fun stuff. But it was so well written. I love this book so much. I ended up giving it 5 stars, so that was great. And because I gave it 5 stars, I was led to the next door that I went through was Megan's door, and she did all of her prompts were memes, because she puts a bunch of memes in her videos. And the next prompt, the one that I got, was it's a video of a lady going, "I'm back." So you could read a sequel, or go back to a book that you had previously DNF'd, or you could reread. There are many ways to interpret the prompts. And I ended up picking up Sisterhood Everlasting, which, if you were like me, one of my very favorite book series is, when I was a kid, was the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants books. I loved all 4 of them. I thought they were so good, and I loved the characters, and reading this, I realized that I really, really like the writing style and the way the story is told. And this is a follow-up to that series. It's definitely an adult book, but it's all the same characters. It's 10 years after the last book in that series ends. So I picked it up because it's a sequel. And it was on my TBR because I saw it on clearance at a half price books a few months ago, and so I was like, I might as well buy it. But I had no clue when I was going to read it, and this was a perfect time, the perfect prompt for me to read this book. And I did not expect what was going to happen in this. And I want to remain spoiler free, but I also want to rant a little bit about how it came out of nowhere. Like, I was like crying the whole time, and I did not expect to be crying the whole time I was reading this book. I ended up giving it 3 stars. Like, it's a solid book, but it's not like anything special, I guess. I really do like the writing style in this series, and I think I forgot how much I enjoyed it and how much I love these characters. Like, I don't know, they're my homies at this point. But I was like crying the whole time I was reading this. It's so sad. So I'm not gonna spoil it in case you want to pick it up, but know that it's sad, and I cried a lot. And because I didn't know what was coming in this book, I didn't know where it was going, I was led to a prompt from Tasman that was like, feels like Marvel. And so what I ended up reading for that prompt was Mistborn, because in the back description it sounds sort of like the plot of the Avengers, and like how Thanos is like evil and destroys everything, and all these homies come together to not have it destroyed, basically. And that's why I decided to read this one for that prompt. I really liked this. I thought that the world building in this was really good, even though some of it felt like show don't telly. And I also was like reading, and I was 200 pages in, and I was like, I still don't really understand this magic system. But I still liked it. Like, I really thought the main character was cool, and like I liked reading from her point of view. I liked how it switched point of views, but I wish that authors would always like let you know when they're switching who's narrating, or whose POV we're reading from, because I sometimes will get confused. But my biggest criticism, I think, is that the main character does some things that don't really fit in her character because of the romance that's like folded into this book. It's not really a romance book, but there's a little bit touch of like falling in love or whatever. And I was fine with that. That was cool. But I wish that she I felt like she broke character. It felt way out of character, like some of the stuff that she did because she was having a romance. And so I wish that she just stayed in character while that stuff was happening. But yeah, I ended up giving this 3 stars. I can't remember how, like, what the question was. Maybe it was, did you like the main character? I don't know. I can't remember how I was led to this next prompt, but it was a prompt from Emma, and it was just up. And so I ended up reading Catherine House for this because I watched a couple of the live shows that the hosts did during the readathon, and they brought up this book during it. And this book was crazy. It was like a trip, you know? I remember really, really enjoying it while I was reading it. This follows like Catherine House is a boarding, it's a college, but it's an insulated community. Like, they spend 3 years there over the entire year. They don't get to talk to their families. It's like a cult, basically. And I really vibe with it. It's dark academia, probably you would call it. And it was a blast. Like, it was so weird and fun to read. And I thought the writing style was really good. Yeah, I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really liked it. And the 5th prompt that I followed was from Meg, and it's like a video. I don't know what I have written down in my journal. What I wrote down, what the prompts was, where is God when you need him? And the way that she described it was like a book that makes you sad or something. And so I ended up picking up Beautiful Boy to fit this prompt. And this book there's a movie that with good old Timmy and Steve Carell in it that came out, and I saw the movie, but basically it's a memoir from a drug addict's dad. The son, Nick, is addicted to heroin, and so it like just covers their journey and like his struggle to stay sober. And I really enjoyed this. It was super good, and I cried a lot. I knew I would because the movie made me cry when I saw that. And I want to pick up, so the movie is actually based on this book, but also Nick Chef wrote a couple of books, and they drew from that as well. And I want to read those too, but I want to own them, and I just haven't gotten around to buying them yet. But yeah, this is really good. I gave it 5 stars. And that was the end of the readathon, which was so fun. I really liked like not having any reading plans really, and like just not knowing what I was going in, like what I was going to read during the readathon. And I definitely, like, if they ever do this again, sign me up. I'm in. I'll probably vlog it. And while that was going on, the next book I finished was on audiobook, so I was actually like listening to it while the readathon was going on, but it didn't like fit any of the prompts. And that was The Testaments, which is the follow-up novel to The Handmaid's Tale. And this book was like set in the same place, and so it has the same like, I don't know, dystopian feel, but it's definitely got more hopeful than The Handmaid's Tale. And I really liked the narration, like Bryce Dallas Howard, freaking May Whitman, that they did such a great job. That's why I actually decided to listen to this book instead of reading it physically, was because of that, and they did not disappoint. I really liked being able to see different points of view of this world. Like, I thought that was really fun and good. And so I give that 4 stars. Oh my god. The next book I read this month was the last book in the Farseer trilogy, Assassin's Quest, and I love Fitz Chivalry Farseer. Like, I love him. This book, I loved it. It was so good. Robin Hobb just really knows how to make you feel, okay? She knows how to build a world. She knows how to make you care about her characters. I don't know. This book is, like I said, the last book in the Farseer trilogy, which I have been reading over the past few months. And it follows Fitz after something big happens at the end of the last book, and then this follows him after that. And the first half of it felt kind of like, oh, Fitz is separated from all the people that you know and love. What are they doing? You don't have a clue. And you get to meet new people who, like, you don't really care. But then the reunion is so sweet, and then you come to care about the new people as well. I loved this so much. I can't stop thinking about this book. I can't stop thinking about Fitz and Verity and freaking all of them. Like, I don't know what to say, okay? I gave it 5 stars. I cannot wait to continue on in the realm of the Elderlings series. I have freaking the first book of the next trilogy, like, on my TBR already. I'm so excited. The next book that I read was The Devil All the Time, because, you know, people just be talking about it on BookTube, and there's a movie that I wanted to watch, so I read the book. This was a weird reading experience for me, maybe because I fell into a little bit of a slump after finishing the Assassin's Quest, or Assassin's Quest, I don't know if there's a V, because I loved those characters, and that book was so good, and so reading The Devil All the Time, I was like, I don't know if I care about these characters or what's happening. But then by the end, I was like, oh, I heavy care about these characters, and not characters, this one certain character. and I do care what happens to him and what happens in this book. And I don't know, it was written well, I think, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's just, you know, a good time. The movie was weird, kind of, to watch, and I think the book was better, so check out the book if that's your thing. And then the next book I listened to on audio, and it's the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, or whatever. This was not what I wanted it to be. I was very disappointed by this book, because in my head, it was going to end up, and there were going to be a bunch of badass Buffy the Vampire Slayer type women banding together and like kicking some vampire tail, but that's not what it was. Like, did they end up killing a vampire? Yes. Did it take the entire book for them to figure out that he was even a vampire? Yes. Did they like turn on each other weirdly in the middle of the book? Were they super petty and catty to each other? Yes. And that was not fun, okay? I didn't care to read about that. I did not end up really liking this book. I did finish it, and gave it 2 stars. Very disappointing for me. The next book, though, pulled me out of my little reading slump. It's what is it called? They Wish They Were Us. This is going to be turned into a TV series that I'm really excited about with Sydney Sweeney and Halsey. So, that cast. Which is why I originally wanted to pick it up. But this is like a little dark academia, maybe, I don't know, light dark academia? You could maybe call it. But basically it follows a senior in high school who is part of this like exclusive like clique at this exclusive boarding school, and they like basically run the school. But you also find out that it's not really that perfect, and she is dealing with her best friend and died at the very beginning of the, like, not in the book, like a few years ago, and she's like rehashing that and stuff, and there's like some romance, there's some old, there's a lot of tension, there's like a little mystery going on, and I love reading about kids being rich and maybe not that rich and killing people. No, they didn't kill anyone. But like, it's high stakes, okay? And there's lots of hazing. Damn, it took me a minute to remember what that word was. And stuff like that. And I really liked this book. I ended up giving it 5 stars. And I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. But then I was at work mixing some cookie dough, and I realized that I really cared about the characters. And I was like, I wonder what's going to happen in this book. And that's not like, I don't always like go about my day thinking about the things that I'm reading. And so, yes, I really did like this book, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read because my dear friend Kevin, shout out Kevin, recommended it to me, and then he also sent it to me. He, bought me this book, which is so fun. It's a nonfiction called Humble Pie, and basically it's like little math mess ups and how they like affect the world, and some of them are funny, but also some of them are kind of sad, which I wasn't expecting. And I liked this book, and I liked what it was doing, but I ended up giving it 3 stars because the math went right over my head. This is a book about math, and I can't do math. I've never been able to do math. None of this made sense to me because I am bad at math. So I ended up giving it 3 stars because some of the stuff went over my head. Something tragic happened, and is that I got a phone call, and my phone stopped recording, and I didn't know. And so I talked about the last 2 books that I read this month, and it didn't record. so now I'm back. I'm here. It's recording now, and I'm going to talk about those last 2 books again. And so the next book I read this month was Memorial. This book, I talked a lot about this book too. I'm so sad I lost it. Basically, this book is about 2 guys, and one of the guys they live together and they think that they love each other, but they're not sure. They're not sure whether they're still in a relationship. And one of the guys finds out that his dad is dying, and his mom is like, I'm gonna come visit you. But then the day after she flies in, he flies out, and so his partner is stuck in the house living with his partner's mom, who he's never met before. And so the first part follows the mom and Benson is the guy's name. And then the next part follows Mike and his dad, and then the last part goes back to Benson's perspective. And yeah, I love the ambiguous ending. And I like the exploration of the relationship and like the way that they like are growing apart from each other, I guess. I don't know, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And I already freaking raved about this book, and the camera was not rolling, but I'm very, very excited to talk about it. And that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. BookTube has been talking about this book for so long, okay? They love it. They love it. It's the best romance, and it is the best romance. It was so good, okay? I think what makes it super great is that you care about each of the characters individually, and you really, really want them to get together, okay? You are rooting for them. Basically, Chloe is the main girl. She's our gal. She is chronically ill, and she's decided, like, she had a near-death experience, not related to her illness, and decides she wants to get a life, and so she moves out, and then she makes a list of things that she wants to do, like, to get a life. And then Red is an artist who is dealing with the fallout of a failed relationship a couple of years ago, and like losing himself. And he meets Chloe because he's her apartment building superintendent guy thing, and they fall in love, and he helps her with his list. I loved this so much. I think it is super strong and good, and like they both bring baggage to the table, okay? And they're willing to work with each other. And there is, you know, the little third act conflict that happens in all romance books. That was a little bit rushed, but it's okay because I love them, and I love them so much. I cannot wait to pick up the next book, and I'm so glad that I finally got my hands on this. There's just something about reading a cute little romance in paperback form. I love it. I love paperbacks. Best way to read, okay? Controversial opinion? Who knows? Alright, that's what I read this month. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're having a great day. Yeah, bye.